welcome to Procrastination Podcast. We talk about anime life and everything in between. I'm Matt.
I'm Robert.
I'm Alonzo.
And we're back at it again. Another topic, another day. Before that, how y'all doing?
Doing good in Alonzo's place today.
Here we are.
I got a house. I wish I was rich and famous though. As my shirt says, I'm just an analog dude in additional moves.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just go home.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody doing okay today? Had a long trip. It was a good trip. A lot of traffic. Hate it. Everyone else does.
Yeah.
The only drivers that are making the list top 3 worst drivers in America. So
Easy.
So, yeah, good. But yeah, I mean, we had some good food today. Got some Indian food. Got some ramen waiting on us. I'm gonna eat that. And yeah, and speaking of ramen, again, another anime topic today. And today's topic is most memorable quotes and moments in anime. And so we kind of have a list around 5 each with friends, and we're gonna kind of go round robin style. We're gonna go through some spoiler alert for a lot of these anime because there are probably stuff that if you haven't seen them, you're gonna want to cover your ears. So I'll try and announce the anime before I start talking to people. So just prepare yourself in advance. If you haven't watched a lot of anime or you're planning on it or you care about spoilers, then you might want to just take your time and try and pay attention and not spoil anything for yourself. There's some good anime we'll talk about. But yeah. So I think we're planning on starting with one. There's a lot to go with. I don't know anyone's list. I don't think any of us know anyone's list today. So
Maybe there'll be some doubles.
I hope not. It might be. Yeah. So yeah. Without further ado, we'll let maybe Alonzo take it over.
All right. So my list is very basic, but first one out of the way, Naruto, OG Naruto. Spoiler alerts if you haven't seen it. You're missing out on greatness. I myself watched OG Naruto on YouTube in middle school. That was when I was first introduced to it. And man, it was such a wild experience. I got introduced to YouTube, got introduced to anime in general. But the moment I want to talk about is when Rock Lee was fighting Gaara from the Sand Village. And the tuning exams.
Fucking fight in the whole series.
The best fight in the series.
I mean, ship it in order. It doesn't matter. It's the best. Yeah.
Specifically, I said specifically, Pacific Ocean. Specifically, when Rock Lee takes off his weights, and everybody's like, "What the hell is he doing? What's he doing with weights? It's so basic." He drops some shits, and they're like, "Boom!" And everybody's like, "Oh shit!"
You've been carrying the extra 2, 3. Oh,
and then he's like, "Oh, I can move so freely now." And then this dude is just zooming. He goes against Gaara and he's just breaking down his defenses, the sand barrier, everything, and he just lands hit after hit. It is so great. It's like, oh my goodness, I was like, this dude is the taijutsu master. I wish I could be like that dude. Right, but I mean, man, so you gotta see it for yourself. It's such a great fight.
You gotta watch it. I mean,
So much I want to say about that fight. I mean, it's like Gaara's defense is not even him doing it, right? So he had to go through something that not even Gaara understands. And it went so fast that he went past it. Oh, you can't beat that. And even still, going gate in that fight as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. First experience the gates.
Yeah. I mean, we've all experienced Dragon Ball Z, and that's Naruto's version, right? Like any of the gates, so just seeing him scream and boom, gate, oh man,
that's so good. And I think even the first hit he landed, the first clean hit he landed, is crazy, man. A drop kick, and this nigga hit like 5 angles on it. He hit like 5 angles on the drop kick. And you see how his hands just swinging sideways. like, oh my gosh, man. It just been so hard downward, he went sideways. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So, like, oh my gosh, yeah. And that fight, I mean, even before that, I love Rocky. And spoiler alert for the podcast, I have Rocky put in my. But I loved Rock Lee even before this. Like, but this fight was like, man, like this guy. Like, this is that dude. Like, this is that dude in the show for me. From then on, like, I was like, he's my favorite character show, easily. And like, yeah, even before he's even like breaking the defenses fully, it's like great because, like, I mean, the way they animated, oh my god, just for that generation, that way they animated for that generation is so freaking good. I mean, it's better than some people now, you know. All this updates and upgrades and all this great technology still can animate to that level. I mean, even like just the one hit, I always remember like when he first like kind of breaks through and almost hits him, and he goes right by the sand, like the strong, like kind of like sword like fist, and it like just goes right past Carl's face. He's just like, oh shoot! Oh no! He really got to beat me. He's gonna kick my ass. Hold on. And I'm like, yeah, here it comes. My man coming up. Like, yeah, against the prodigy. You know what it is? And I was like, man, like, yeah, oh my gosh, like, 100%, I think, till this day, it doesn't matter. I've watched that fight. I don't know how many times. At least 20 times. Right? To the point, I'm going to date myself. I recorded that on VHS. Oh. I recorded this fight on a blank VHS. I'm kind of broke, and I'm grown up too, so don't worry about that. But recorded on a blank VHS tape. Just this fight, just this episode, just this fight, right? And I was just rewatching, like, I mean, I don't know how many times, like, for weeks, for months, probably for years, I was using that VHS, you know, before I figured out, you know, you can watch anime and stuff online and all this stuff, and I got a laptop, but like, dude, like that, and that's the only thing I've ever recorded. I mean, I learned how to record on the VHS to record this fight. Like that is how serious I was about like this. It was so good. Anyway, I love it.
Nice. I love that scene too. Love that fight. But moving on to my next one. Okay.
My turn. I mean, you can cue it up if you want. You want to play the audio of that one. I think I'm just going to do that one.
All right.
Yeah. So to preface it, before we play it, this was an anime that came out maybe 2 seasons ago.
That's pretty recent.
Following after being rejected at Shaven took in a high school runaway. The purpose of the show is not great. But
we don't know the purpose of the show.
But at some part of it is where there's like an adult aspect of the show where there's an adult guy and he's living his regular job, you know, office job, and he has a woman that he's interested in. Her name is Doto, and she seems like she's interested in him. She invites him to go out to eat on what looks like a date. And then when she's there, she starts asking him more like work-related jobs, you know, or work-related questions and stuff. So he ends up kind of rejecting the whole thing. He's like, oh, she's not interested in me. So I'm just going to kind of like, like shoot the biggest shot kind of thing. Like, I'm just going to throw this relationship away. It's probably not going to be a romance thing. So if she asks me anything, well, she gets to a point where she says, you know, you can ask me one more question. Any question you want. And this is what he decides to ask her.
Fine. How about I answer one more question to make this night worth it?
Deal. So, what cup size are those?
I for incredible.
There's so much that happened in that scene. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I would never have guessed that this man, who is like so low tier, you know, like he's not gonna do any real shots, and then he decides to like, you know what? If I have one more question, what am I gonna ask? I'm gonna ask about her tit cup size. Like, why not? Nothing better to do. And then her reaction, more than just being like, you know, all right, I'm done with this. I'm out running, slapping, running, whatever. She goes, I for incredible. That's too good. And it's just like, again, solidifies that shit hard. Like, no, they need to be a thing. I don't care how it's going to be a thing. They need to be a
Make it
thing.
happen.
Because obviously they both feeling each other. Spoiler alert in the anime too. They both feel each other. You know, to some degree. But yeah. That was one of the just a silly moment that I wanted to bring up because you don't get too many of those moments, especially in animes.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that quote. I think around the time it happened. I think I'm pretty sure in the real time. Because I had watched it. I watched it subbed, so I haven't seen it. And it's not the same translation sub.
Yeah.
So I didn't really fully understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
So then I watched it dubbed to understand. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, like that's a response right there. I was like, okay, and I'm like, yeah. I think, for me, that show was like, it was almost refreshing. It was like, I don't know. It's like, yeah. Can we have a moment in like an adult romance in the anime,
Right.
where it's like, okay, sometimes adults is gonna take this shot. We grown. We grown. Like I'm gonna take this shot. You told me I got anything, I'm gonna take this shot. And again, we grown. She's not just gonna be like, the typical anime response. It's like you run off, pee, blah blah, whatever. But that happens in real life too. If you ask this question, in fairness. But again, you've prefaced this already saying you ask me any question, right? So again, preface that with that, and I think I was like, okay, that is. Maybe not the question I would have asked, but it is an interesting question, entertaining question, and the response is even more entertaining. Yeah, it's like it shows she's entertaining it as well. It's like, okay, and it's funny because in this point at the anime, it's almost like you think this is dead in the water. This is one side, and then kind of this moment is like it's almost like she's almost impressed. And he's like, oh, this guy took a little bit of a bold kind of flirtatious little shot, and it's like, okay. All right, I'll play along. And I was like, all right. And I'm like, okay, I'm in now. So I did appreciate that. Cause I feel like that's missing a lot. I feel like you talked about that a little bit at some point. It's like that's kind of missing a lot. And sometimes anime is like it's too repetitive in the plot of romances. And sometimes it's nice to be like surprised by something, especially when especially in romance. I think, enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. Give me something that's going to be like, it's going to be funny, but also just, out of the norm.
Right.
And
that's all it is for. You need a little diversity. I need diversity in America.
You end up watching a lot of romance along too?
Yeah, I think so.
I still gotta watch.
I think there's probably,
I used to.
it's probably my number one watch.
Really? Well, I'm really supposed to be.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of everything. I watched a lot of anime. It's just extensive. I'm not gonna do this. I keep going through them, still finding more that I've already watched. But I love that's definitely part of when I talk through that I just look for. It's like especially like now I'm like I kind of like we got Adar's mentioned. I kind of looking for more adult romance stuff. So I'm like, let me get a little more substance, a little more oomph to a little more realism to it, which is what I appreciate about some of these. There's certain one, Scum's Wish, I think is a little it's over the top, but I think it's also, I mean, let's be real. It's a realistic scenario in life right now. Like, let's be real. There's plenty of people in a very similar situation, you know, and like, at least, at the very least, they're in messy romantic situations. And I'm like, okay, this is at least a fair reflection on how messy romance is in the current state of the world. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I'm not saying that it's an artistic masterpiece, but I at least am glad that I get to see some sort of like variation in the representation rather than just your plain old vanilla same old thing. And then, oh, we're scared to hug. It's a big deal. Your hands touched. Okay, come on. Come on now. You're 28. You ain't ever touched a girl's hand before, my friend? Okay, all right now. All right, stop it.
It definitely seems like most romance in anime is going to be pretty black and white, where it's like, he likes her, she, you know, yeah, like she doesn't know, or she likes another guy. It's like, okay, you know, or you know, probably the other way around for most of the anime. Right? She likes him, he likes another girl. He is a big movie, right? Easy. But in Scuffed Wish, but also in that anime where it's like, okay, very one-sided. He likes her, and is that for sure? Probably not, right? And then another one of his coworkers also liked him, and you know, the high school, also liked him, but right? It's like, that one obviously, you know, but yeah, you know, to say that it's so one-sided. And even it seemed like his kind of like how he was moving those relationships was like, oh, I don't know, you know, I may be able to like this person in that way. I may be able to like this person. So it was kind of just testing everything. So good. And funny.
Yeah, nice. But, well, yeah. So moving on my first one is a moment. I have the quote for it, but it's the moment, and this is an anime. It's my favorite anime of all time. It's called Code Geass. And it's the moment in this anime, and just to be clear, the reason it's my favorite is not because it's moment. The reason it's my favorite is because the culmination of it, including this moment and the ending being maybe one of the best endings I've ever had in like a story period. Not just ending, it's story period, you know. And so I really appreciate it as a story. So the moment I'm going for, and I'll read it, is basically setting the scene is the main character who is, okay, and big spoiler alert if you haven't watched. First off, if you haven't watched Code Geass, something wrong with you. Go watch Code Geass. Like now. In fact, pause the podcast, go watch Code Geass, season 1 and 2, and then come back and then watch this, and you'll have even greater appreciation for what I'm about to say. But again, so the moment is basically he's Lush, who is the main character of the show. He's kind of been, the backstory, kind of playing a rebellion kind of against the royal family. He's kind of part of the royal family, but like very low down on it, basically. So then the princess, who is again, he's kind of related to her. He's actually planning on using his power, which is basically mind control, to take control of her. But he ends up just kind of having like a regular diplomatic discussion with her in this part of the show, basically, and it gets broken down to the point where she almost renounces like her royalty and what they've been doing since. I agree with what you're doing pretty much. They're messed up. We need to get these things where people are, you know, equal and all that sort of stuff. And basically, they're almost on the same page. So they're pretty much on friendly terms by the end of this conversation. And he's like, at this point, explaining how his power works, which is not done really with really anyone at this point in the show. He doesn't explain his power to anyone. He's just kind of opening up to her. He's explaining how his power works. He's like, oh, so, you know, I can tell you to pretty much do anything. So for example, if I tell you to kill all the Japanese here, you know, you would do that, and you would have no choice, you know, but to do that. And again, typically his power is he activates it, right? And that's how it kind of works. And so he knows exactly what he needs. But in this particular scenario, his power is like evolving. So he temporarily, in this one moment, loses control of the power. So when he tells her that in jest, as like just an example, basically, he actually triggers the power and makes her kill everyone at this assembly that is gathered. You know, basically to celebrate, you know, unity between the two cultures, just like Japanese and British or Kenyan. culture and everything. And basically, she gives the order, and then we just pretty much genocide of every Japanese person at what was supposed to be a very peaceful and like communal day. And he can't stop the power when he uses it because he can only use it one time. So he literally cannot stop it. So it was one of those moments in the show where I'm just like, things went from 0 to 100 so quickly. You know, because you're thinking, oh, this is one from an episode where he's always going to like take her out, he's going to kind of do something that he's been doing, it's like take control of her mind, make her do whatever, and then kind of take control of the situation. He's a very calculated character. And then it's just like, it goes so south where, for one, he's totally out of control. It's like the first time you see that in the anime, he's totally out of sorts. He has no clue what's going on. He has no way to rectify it. He can't stop what's going on, you know. And then at the same time, he's also kind of, you know, losing his first real, like, kind of trustworthy ally that he was like 100% was trying to like, fully trust at the same time, you know. And I just thought that was like such a crazy, like, just crazy moment in the anime, and just like such a sudden shift. You know, it was like, oh, this is totally peaceful, PG, like really like wholesome almost moment of him like coming back and being accepted by part of his family, and like finally having someone that understands that in the royal family. Okay, yeah, what we're doing is kind of messed up. Let's try and fix it, and like all that progress, basically, just from a discussion, like a diplomatic discussion, it's like ruined by accident. You know, on a power that he's been basing his whole rebellion based on, basically, and it kind of turns against him. So it really is like a case of like, you know, great power comes with responsibility, but then also just, you know, it's almost like just a hazard in general to even have that power. And it was just like just such an unexpected moment in the anime. And I've rarely had that in like any sort of show where it's just something that's super, super unexpected. Like there's no foreshadowing, nothing you can see really come in like that. And it's just like, it's out of the blue. And it just shocked me. It shocked me so much that I just have never forgotten the scene. Like I've never forgotten the scene. And I even rewatched the anime and I just skipped the scene. I already knew. I knew everything was gonna happen. I was like, oh no, I can't watch this right now. like it's just crazy because like you just wanted that for him. You want him to have somebody to trust and to be like, okay, like all right, you know, dude, you can be a little diplomatic sometimes too, not to just go and go off on everyone. And I just that one scene was just like so significant. That was the first time anime I was like just totally caught off guard. I didn't expect it at all. And then like I said, the show in itself, you know, even the way it finished was kind of similar, and like just such a perfect ending. The only ending felt like almost. But anyway, watch that. It's so good. So.
Yeah. Surprising that. Yeah. I mean, you said they try to do genocide. I mean, what she ends up doing is getting on the microphone and going, you know, can all you Japanese people just kill yourselves right now, please, for me, you know? And that was crazy. And then she ended up having a gun and tried to just shoot people individually. She couldn't do it. And yeah, crazy. And yeah, super unexpected and hard hitting as hell. And yeah, that was love his life. And I think that kind of triggered the rest of the series. I won't spoil that part, but yeah, very, very, very hard hitting on that one. But, so crazy shit, man.
But yeah, I mean, that was like it. Seeing that, never forget that one. Guess we're going back around. One of those number 2.
Oh man, number 2. Let's see. Number 2, still staying in the Naruto universe, unfortunately. But I wanted to talk about Madara's appearance. Madara Uchiha and Naruto Shippuden. That's the second part of Naruto. But basically, Madara is the big bad. He's the one everybody's been afraid of. And he comes back to life, and everybody's like, oh my gosh. But what I really want to talk about is the meteor scene.
I knew this one was going to be mentioned. I didn't even bring it up, but I knew this was going to be mentioned. Perfect.
I forget the quote exactly, but basically, he has a power within his eye to bring down meteor against a whole army of ninjas. And he just brings it down. Everybody's trying their hardest, their darndest to fight back the meteor to stop it so it doesn't kill everybody. And miraculously, they do it. They stop the meteor. Everybody's celebrating. They're in disbelief that he actually stopped it with all of their power. And then he's like, you did good to stop the first one. Now what will you do about the second one? And that was Like, oh shit! I didn't see that coming at all. I was like, God damn. God damn.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the ninjas looked up and everybody was like, oh shit. And it just came down, smashed into the first one, and it was just chaos, abrupt chaos after that. And so many ninjas died. It was crazy. Oh my gosh. I've never experienced something like that in an anime before. And I was just like, this is some cool shit right here.
I definitely think that was like super unexpected. I loved it because it was like you said, it went from complete like hope, rejoice, like maybe we can beat this seemingly unbeatable person. And we've already overcome this big hurdle. We can win. We can. Oh shoot! Like oh no! Like no, it was so crazy. Like just the abrupt change.
It was truly, dire situation. Like even for the first one, because I mean, Gar was using his jutsu as much as possible with the sand. Fucking Tsukage or whatever came in and did his earth stuff. Like tried so fucking hard to like get that down and like. Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of comedy with it too because Tsukage is right under it. He's like, and then what are you gonna do with the second one? He hits him and he's like, ah, but yeah, then a bunch of people died, so that wasn't. Yeah, crazy, and yeah, it just showed like the level difference, with at that point, like, just. Put a nail on that. Like, oh yeah, he's not at your level. Not at your level.
Yeah. I don't know. That was one of the first. That was definitely one of the more significant like villains in anime that just was like. I mean, if you haven't watched Hunter x Hunter, it's kind of like that Hunter x Hunter with like, oof, this is like ridiculously strong. But like like he one of those villains that was just like, how are they realistically gonna beat this guy? Like, how are we gonna realistically say they beat him? I was trying to figure that out like the whole time watching. I'm like, this dude is beating up like dudes are like, oh, this is the best dude in the village kind of dude. He just two pieces of them, like or one hit a quit in dudes. Like they're done, one hit, bye. Like oh my gosh, like that was a really good arc for the
Or to be a little controversial with this one, bring up sword art. All right, so I've got everything 2 in 1 here. So sword art, the whole first season, he is the main character, stuck in a video game, and is trying to fight his way out of it, basically. Like doing nothing more than that. He finds groups and teams, and they fight their way out of this video game. Life or death situation. If you die in the game, you die in life. That's big, right? And it gets to the last scene where he ends up fighting and ends up basically dying. He's all the way to the end, but he finds some last minute momentum and he beats a big bad and then like he thought he was gonna die. He's not dying, right? He won before he died, so it's okay, right? And the whole thing put kind of like a shell over the game. It's like that game is bad because if you die in it, you die in real life. Well, season 2 comes up and they make remake the game basically. Make a new game that's very similar, and he finds out that Asuna is trapped in that. Well, he's his love interest, right? So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go save her. And the moment that was to me, the thing that made me keep watching this, and the only thing that made me keep watching this, because everyone says like 1, it's repetitive, and 2, there's a lot of filler, and that where it's just like, hey, let's just go hands and but he gets to the final tower where he sees Asuna up there, and he says, "Fuck the bullshit. I go through the door, go up, and I'm just gonna kill whatever the fuck I can." Right? Just like, all right, all I have to do is beat this, and I win, and I'm out. All right, bet. And he literally, like, goes in there by himself, and he's just like fucking, and he's killing everything, fucking destroying. And he gets all the way to the top, and he's like right there at the door, and then like the biggest sword I've ever fucking seen goes right through him, and I'm like, oh shit. And then it immediately puts you back in that shell where you're like, oh, he's dead. You know, like die in the game, die in real life, and then you realize that like, one, this is a different game, not the same requirements. Somebody comes in, saves him, brings him back to life. He's able to kind of like do it all again with his team, and then they help him out, right? But that scene when he dies the first time in Alfheim is so hard hitting to me. And I was like, oh my god, okay. Like the fight was amazing, and then him, you know, the reaction of him losing the fight made me think like, okay, he's not just dumb OP, right? Like he kind of was in the first season, right? There was like he was soloing bosses in the first one,
Yeah.
But this one he's like gets all the way to the end. He's like, no, I can't be the villain.
Yeah.
Yes. Character development.
It's important.
Right.
Did you watch Sword Art? What's that?
I haven't watched the second season, so I'm missing out.
A lot of people weren't that biggest fan. I thought, yeah, I watched. I think I watched all the seasons. I don't know if I watched. I think I watched most all the seasons. So, yeah, I remember. Yeah, season 2 wasn't too bad, but yeah, that particular scene was I agree with that. Like that was like again, I like surprises. I like surprises in my anime. Like, I don't want to be able to predict everything in my anime, any story. So for me, that was again like oh shoot. Like, I mean, we expected him to, again, solo everything, like last time. So that part was expected. It was good to see. It was cool to see the way they animated. Yeah, no one can knock their animation. Their animation is good. They have good animation in their fights. It's always solid. But again, like the storyline itself, like, okay, kind of predictable, kind of repetitive. But that particular part, I was like, yo. Hey, you guys gonna do your part like that? like, hey, I thought that was gonna do. You just took a while. Okay. And yeah, so I appreciated that like switch up, which I think sometimes it's like maybe the artists kind of hear the fans a little bit and they're like, okay, we see what you're saying, so we're gonna just add a little something and then a little razzle dazzle for you guys. So I think that is nice, but yeah, I do like that. It was a good one. So, definitely left field. I wasn't expecting to say Sword Art Win at all.
Someone would hate. Right. So we get the comments.
Man, see, I don't know. The second one is just super basic quote for me. That we use so often, I just had to use it. It's from Gurren Lagann. Believe in the me that believes in you. Believe in the me that believes in you. I love that freaking quote. Because you can just, it's just so applicable to everything. And I don't know, like, it's almost like, it sounds super dumb, honestly, but at the same time, it's always a little inspirational. Because, like, sometimes maybe you can't believe in yourself, but, if you have other people that have faith in you, believe in you, depend on you, it's like, okay, surely not all that is misguided faith. Misguided belief. Surely there's some truth in some of that. They're not all insane, Like so, I'm just saying. I'm like, I would assume that there's some truth behind it. So it's like, okay, even sometimes you don't think you have this, ability, or you don't believe in yourself or your ability to do whatever certain thing. It's like, okay, if you have people that really do believe in you, I think there's something to that. There's something to that. It's something that is saying, okay, maybe they're seeing something I'm not seeing. Maybe I need to just take a step back, look at it from a different perspective instead of my perspective, and be like, okay, like, maybe this thing I'm thinking is so unsurmountable, I can't actually do. Maybe I need to approach it differently. Maybe I need to look at it from someone else's perspective. But, it almost is like a quote. It's like, okay, like, all these things you thought you weren't capable of, or this person you think you're not capable of being, you are. I see it in you. Someone else is telling you that they see it in you. And, oftentimes other people that may say that they see it in you. And it's like, it's just a matter of having faith that is not misguided. Having faith that, okay, they're seeing something that I'm not seeing. Maybe that is there. maybe I'm just not looking right, or maybe I'm just doing something differently, or maybe I need to just change the way I'm thinking about it. And I just love that quote. This is so applicable. We use it all the time. We use it all the time. But usually in jest. But I mean, I think in moderate seriousness too. Like, if someone's like going to do something like, we believe in you, it's gonna kill this. It's gonna do really well in this, project, this presentation, or do well in your thesis. And shout out to you, Jordan.
I mean, he's the one that kind of like pushed all of us to watch Girl Done. And yeah, I mean, to say that we didn't get memorable quotes from that we didn't like. I mean, and the series is great.
Series is great.
In general, too.
It's great, yeah.
Not to undermine it.
Watch it lock on. I didn't spoil anything with that quote. You're going to hear it a million times.
Right.
Go watch it. Go watch it. Yeah. Particular scene in that. Love that scene. One scene hits hard through. So yeah, great anime. Quote was just super applicable to everything. I love it. Great quote. Back around.
Well, in the interest of time, I had 3 more, but I'm gonna skip to the last one. Well, the other 2, one of them was from Mob Psycho 100. Spoilers: Mob has trouble controlling his powers, so he goes into a different mode, like percentage mode of his powers. One of those modes was 1,000% gratitude, and he was able to transfer his powers to his mentor, Reagan. And it was such a great moment when he was able to get powers, and he was able to fight against the organization called Claw, and it was so cool. Another one I had was Nina Tucker from Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know if you know Nina, but she turned into a dog. Spoilers. And it was so sad. She was like,
oh God, man.
Brother,
no, God, why are you so good at that?
It was such a heart wrenching moment.
Oh God,
But and then the Albert brothers went on to beat up the dad, and
as he should.
Yeah,
Beat that shit tail.
but the one I want to get to from Attack on Titan, specifically Erwin's speech when they go to fight the Beast Titan. And I have a little video for you all, just to hear it. It's great as free.
Everything that you thought had meaning, every hope, dream, or moment of happiness, none of it matters as you lie bleeding out on the battlefield. None of it changes what a speeding rock does to a body. We all die. But does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there was no point in our being born? Would you say that of our slain comrades? What about their lives? Were they meaningless? They were not! Their memory serves as an example to us all! The courageous fallen, the anguished fallen, their lives have meaning because we, the living, refuse to forget them! And as we ride to certain death, we trust our successors to do the same for us! Because my soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world! My soldiers push forward! My soldiers scream out! My soldiers rage!
So effing good! I remember reading this in the manga, and I was like, I got so hyped, I was ready to die for somebody. Yo, send me to battle right now. Oh, I'm ready.
Thank God.
Man, it's such a powerful speech to me, and I love it every time I hear it. You know.
It could be the transfer.
Yeah, like goosebumps.
All right.
Like, oh my God.
That's crazy. But I do want to talk about the meaning of it too. That's one of the most, for one of the most common dark jokes in the anime community, which I don't appreciate.
The only anime meme that anyone would know is freaking.
I have a shirt with Nina and the dog doing the
fusion.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate it. It's so effed up. But it's I mean, it's like everyone for the Full Metal party. I mean, easily top 10 anime of all time for, I think, anyone that watches anime. But again, that scene, when you first see it, it's just like, straight shock. It's like, this chick is crazy. Who does that? The most deserved, one of the most deserved beatings in anime history. He really deserved that. Yeah. You want to go ahead? You want to run through all yours? You got one more, don't you?
I do have one more, and that's my main one. But you know what? I could preface it with a couple that I said that I wanted to kind of talk about. But let me bring it up. So I just want to. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was Durarara. Okay, so basically, this creator, the creator of this anime, is really good, and he only same one who made Bakuno, right? Very good at taking what seems like seemingly random events and making it culminate to one point at which everything kind of like capitalizes on. Like everyone is doing their own thing, and then it gets to the very end, and it's just like, no, actually, they were all playing. It was all just to this one moment. So Durarara does that as well, where you see like everyone around the town having these seemingly random events, and then eventually they show you that like, well, this was all actually happening for the main character. All around the main character is kind of like pseudo manipulation of him, of everyone, which I was like, oh man, that was so good, so freaking good. And it's similar what happened in Bakuno. So that's definitely one. The other one I wanted to talk about was Your Lie in April. And again, just like every single musical scene in there, like I felt it somehow different than any other anime I've ever listened to, right? Or I've ever watched. Like the emotion the music makes you feel is weird. Like it was but I loved it, and I was saying like that's why it was so good. So all of that, and also yes, obviously the main character, and what happened to her, right? So yeah,
Watch it.
Also that very 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 good. Now my main one I was going to talk about was speaking of death, big spoiler alert, but Assassination Classroom is the main one that I want to talk about. But yeah,
Your favorite?
yeah, and I had all these different takes for my number one for a long time, and I watched Assassination Classroom, and I fell in love with it. I felt like the main characters are so like individual, like they have their own personalities. Everyone's kind of different. The teacher, Koro Sensei, super funny, and like also made everything around them happen pretty funny, but also the fights were great. I mean, the fights in the show were amazing, and you really got a connection between the teacher and all the kids in that class. And then at the end, when he dies, it like hit harder than anything I've seen in a long time. When he died, so it was like very emotional, very like I was like, oh man, this is what I wish all anime was.
Yeah.
This particular scene, it's like I wish, but no, like also looking back at the whole thing, like I wish all anime was able to tackle different genres easily, romance, comedy, action, all top tier in this anime. So it's like if more could do that, that's one of the first times I was like automatic.
Yeah, life lessons. A lot of life lessons. A lot of life lessons.
Yeah. I mean,
you can pick a bunch of quotes from that show.
Yeah.
That's actually, it's one of the few that I think is If I didn't give it a 10, it's very close to a 10. And I might even go back and give it a 10 because, to be honest. But yeah, I think in that particular scene, it's the way it started and the way it ended is what makes it almost the most impressive because he starts off basically what looks to be the main enemy in the show. That's how he starts. And he ends up being almost like, a guardian figure for them, a teacher, literally, what they call him sensei. Like, it's a parent sort of figure. Because some of them are like, very, very left field kind of kids, man. Like, they're not all there, and or they just have their own issues and troubles and struggles. And it's like, yeah, like he really like becomes just like a super great, just inspiration. It's a great overall figure in their lives, the majority of them, if not all of them, in the show. And like, yeah, like the dichotomy from his roles and how it just evolves. Like literally, you see him, and it's crazy to see so many characters evolve in an anime. That's super rare. Like it's not just the main characters getting all strong. I know certain anime that we all have talk about a lot that they focus really on one person's growth when they have a lot of other good characters. But this show really does give. It focuses on the main couple, but it still shows growth from almost everyone in the show, which is very, very impressive and like significant growth, like notable growth. Like if you were to watch the beginning and the end, you would see, okay, this is like notable difference in the characters and their decision making and their maturity, all these sorts of things. And I think it's one of those things that it's really nice because it's like like you said, it kind of gives you everything you want. It gives you everything you want, and it also kind of it gives you something to take from it as well. It's not just entertainment value. It's actually like you can learn something from this. Like you can learn something that to take with you, bring it into your life, and like better yourself from. Which I think is like something I always like. I love it anime. It's one thing I love the most about it in general. It's like, and that's what I talked about already. Some of the stuff I think all of us are taking something from anime, and that's one of those anime I think a lot of people could definitely take a lot from. So yeah, good choice, really good choice. But yeah, and he has a brother from mine. My first two are pretty short, but and then it's sad as far as my last ones are probably long. But I think one that I wanted to really talk about was a scene in Hagani, which actually pretty sure just plays the scene to be honest. But shows Hagani next second season of Hagani. Spoiler alert. Shows I don't have many friends, so yeah, basically the premise of the show is the main characters in the show are on a club for people that are trying to learn to make friends. So obviously, they end up kind of becoming friends in the process of it. But the main character is this guy. His name is Kodaka, and he is the typical oblivious male protagonist. Like, okay, you have these friends that are girls, and they're pretty attractive, whatever, and everyone else outside of the main character, see, they're starting to have feelings for them, starting to get really attached to him. And he kind of is always listening out. No, they're just playing around, or they're just trying to tease me or whatever else.
The epitome of what we said behavior.
Yeah, the epitome of what I hate the most in anime is this oblivious. Well, he's one of the ones, the oblivious male protagonist. And then episode 10 of season 2, one of the main characters. His name is Rika, who's really smart kind of girl. She feels like a black hole at times. She refers herself in third person, which is kind of weird. But anyway, she says he calls him, talking to him like on the roof, basically. And she's just like, they're talking kind of like, talking about random stuff, and then talking about, there's like a race going below with two of the main female characters, and both of which have been clear that they like the main character, the main male character. So she's like, basically, she's like, so he says something akin to, yeah, we're just friends. She basically inquires about their relationship. I said, we're just club mates, really. Not even friends, we're just club mates, right? And she's like, okay. All right. She's had enough. She's like, all right. Okay, so you complain that you're lonely. This is the correct quote. You complain that you're lonely. You don't let anyone get close to you. You pretend not to notice when someone's interested in your life. Then you make jokes so no one will know you're upset. Even though no one has given you good reason, you've convinced yourself that no one likes you, so you never get hurt. He goes on, he's like, nah, shut up. He gets mad. He doesn't even get phased this entire anime. First time, this dude's legit. Shut yo up. And storms off, right? But I just loved it because this was the first time in anime where someone calls out this behavior that is just so, clearly not possible. Just not even not even moderately realistic. Like, there's no one that's going to be so oblivious as have people literally like wanting to be around you almost 24/7, and it's like, oh yeah, they clearly don't like me. It's not even to the point of like romantic. He thinks they don't like him, and it's like she really hits the nail on the head. She literally just tells him like, yo, you're just avoiding this responsibility because you think somehow you're going to get hurt, or you think that somehow there's something wrong with you. And you won't even accept, like, basically kind of what we're talking about. You don't believe in the you that they believe in, And I think, like, that was, like, the craziest thing. They finally called it out, and I was just like, thank you. Thank you. Someone in anime calls this nonsense out, because it needs to be. They need to cut this issue out. It's not, no one likes this trope. Stop it. Anyway, I'm getting my voice. But yeah, I love that scene. And I love that anime because of that. Yeah. Thank you. The other quote from my main man Rock Lee, the one you got at the beginning, and this is the quote again, middle school. I don't think we were all kind of watching Naruto, and Rock Lee's dude I just like empathize with, and just really like connected with, because him as a character is like, his premise is hard work beats talent. That's his premise. And for me, I was just like, I know there's people out there probably like, no, I'm not even a talented guy. Anyone that knows me, anyone that saw me in Norfolk State, knows it. I'm not saying I have no ability, but I had to work my tail off to progress to where I'm trying to get in life and where I'm at now. Like, I really had to work like a lot harder than the majority of the people around me, if not everyone around me. And it was like the people I was competing against, I won't name names, but they were gifted, man. Like, they just got it. Like, I mean, they're in class, bam, just got it. Like, just got it, And, to the point, like, I'm just, like, struggling to keep up at this point. And I think, like, it was like that my whole life, like, because when you're trying to get to a certain level, like I said, what's a high level or a high achieving field, and it's a field that's typically put by people that are, either super talented or just super well off, then you're always going to be at a disadvantage if you're not one of those two. And I think to see someone that's like represented as a character, to be in that category of like, I don't have a secret latent power. Like, I'm not MC, I get mad, all of a sudden I get like, some crazy new power. Or I'm in trouble and I get something, someone comes and like rescues me, they train me up, something like that. Like, it's nothing like that. Like, this dude is the most regular dude possible. Right? Just working his tail off every day to make use of the little bit of talent he has to maximize it. And this is the quote that kind of like did it for me and kind of solidified that. And he's just like, I want to show that I could be a splendid ninja as well. Even if I don't have ninjutsu or genjutsu, I want to prove it to the whole world. Right? So this dude's not just saying I'm trying to prove it to the village or to the haters or the dude across the street. Like, he's saying the whole world. Like, this man has put himself on a platform to not only have to be like the best version of himself, but he has to now make himself one of the best in the world at what he's doing. Already at a super big disadvantage at having 2 out of the 3 things that you probably need to be the best in the world. And I was like, yo, that is a declaration. And when he said that, I felt it. I was like, yo, this dude, he gets it. Like, yeah, man, we got to put in this work. And like, from then on, like I said, favorite character, fight scene, I was talking about already, solidified it. And even from then, before that, it kind of has this quote, and I was like, yeah, this is my dude, man. This is my dude. So, love that quote. I love Rock Lee. One of my favorite characters in anime history. And then my last one, wasn't my last one, but I'll make it my last one. Your Lie in April. Because so good. And this particular quote kind of lends itself. I'm just saying. And this is the main male character, male MC, Sam is, so it's about the main female. So it says, the moment I met her, my life changed. Everything I saw, everything I heard, everything I felt, all the scenery around me started to take on color. I was like, And this is what I say, anime changed my perception of what romance and like relations are supposed to be. Cause I'm like, yo, so that's what it's like when you supposed to meet your girl? Like your whole life gonna be in black and white and all of a sudden it just get bright and beautiful and like, I'm like, yo, this man said everything I felt, bro. Like everything, man. Like that's crazy to me. Like and the show though, it's brilliant. It's a bunch of quotes that are just amazing. A bunch of pieces in the show, brilliant, beautiful, amazing. But like that was one of the quotes that like again, like it's just like man, like this is what love is supposed to be. This is what romance is supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to mean to like really be in like a real like relationship and stuff like that. And like that. Doesn't necessarily lend itself that much, I feel like, to reality all the time. I'm sure that's out there, and I'm glad for people that have that and all of that. And I think, it can be there. But I think, like that's where that expectation for me kind of came from, is like, like this is what it can be. So why is it not like this, kind of thing. It's always in the back of my mind, But yeah, that anime in general, I think, super powerful anime. Super powerful anime. And if you watch it, bring some tissues with you because it's a tearjerker.
Yeah, I'll say about Johnny. I think that was really good. That it's basically putting it. The whole reason for the club is if you don't have friends, it's like, but it was almost saying like you don't belong here. Like, we don't have friends. You choose not to have friends, right? So I'm like, that was really, really, really impactful there too, because it's just like, it's like, why are you pushing people away? You have any reason to push people away, right? That's good. Rock Lee, like you said, having that like work ethic or whatever, like being able to that's also a power, right? It's like you know what I mean, and I think that's good to bring to the real world. Right? Saying that you will keep, you will demonstrate some kind of like perseverance, kind of thing. Like you'll keep trying. That's good. And then the last one, that's kind of like everything, right? You find someone who's going to take some amount of stress from your life, right? Like that's what it seemed like for him. Is while he's doing his piano thing, like he's going through something, and if you find someone who's going to take that away, that's a big one. Right? So,
Right. Literally adding light to it. I think it's literally what it's supposed to say. That is crazy, man. That is crazy.
And a lot of other romances, they do not focus on something like that hard hitting, like same
Right.
It's pretty surface level, but also like more of just like a built relationship instead of like
this is like emotional.
Yeah.
This is an emotional connection.
This is
like. Man, like I'm realizing that they almost never talk about looks or anything at all in that show. Like it's almost all emotional connection in that show. And this is one. And I wish we were talking about adult romances. This is what the most adult romance is. It's like they're definitely kids. Like it's a very adult romance. Like
even the drama when they brought in the other girl,
right?
And I don't know, like when she played that song where she's like, "I'm playing this for you to tell you I like you." And that one felt so hard to me too that I was just like, oh man, add this bit of drama on top of it. Like, that's so good.
I need to watch that show.
You need to watch it. You need to watch it. I'm telling you. You're lying.
I haven't. It seems too sad to me.
Oh yeah, it's sad. It's sad. You know I don't like sad stuff. I don't like sad stuff. But that is when man, I was in my bed. I was like, woo! I was struggling, man.
Honorable mention for you. Hold on to that. 8-0. And when Ryder, it was the most badass guy in the whole show, right? and he died, and it was so good. Like, had to die at that moment.
Right.
Perfect moment. Like, just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honorable mention.
One other thing on Hagani, I still am a cringe person, but I used to like, I watched that show way back, and I was like, this guy just like me for real. Yeah, you gotta work on your issues like that. So
Yeah, sometimes call you out on it. You know, it's good. Like that's a real friend. Like by the way, in that show, like that girl, and it's up to that point. She almost talks about that in that scene as well. She's like, okay, if you'll just keep playing the role, I'll keep playing the role. And it's just crazy to say it in anime. It's crazy to say in general, but in anime, yeah. And like, but the fact that she breaks that barrier, like she's like not a major character like this anime. Like she was kind of on the fringe, right? And the fact that they let her be the one to like be like, look, man, I know you playing this role. I know you're basically playing yourself right now. Like you gotta let it go. We gotta figure out what's going on with you because you got friends. You can't like stop it, dude. Just stop it. Like just accept it. And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's just crazy because like, the dude gets so upset. And it's like, and it's crazy because the craziest thing means almost at episode 10. It gives you 2 more episodes to really go into it, which I loved, which I'm so happy about. Like, hey, we could do that, like, last episode, like, all the rush like 15 minutes of, like, trying to explain all this stuff. They really, like, really go into it, kind of dissect it a little bit. I appreciate it. And, like, yeah, like, that's one of the early anime that I was watching, like middle school, early high school, that I was like, this is, like, they really did, like, a little bit of a deep dive in this. Like, this thing should really tackling some things. Like, it was really good. But it was, like, again, like, again, it's like the thing we kind of talk about. Anime kind of is missing now of hitting multiple categories. Like they don't want to spread themselves too thin. But that anime hit comedy, hit romance, hit like drama to the high extent. Hit really like kind of psychological aspects of like really dissecting this dude's like issues and even a lot of the other characters' issues too. Like where that comes from. And it's like, this is great. Like they don't do that anymore. Like they don't really like they stick to their genre or two, and they don't really like stretch themselves. And we kind of talked about it. Maybe it's a money thing. Maybe it's a risk return thing. Like, okay, if we do this, then we're spreading ourselves too thin. We don't end up capturing a big enough audience or whatever. It's like, okay, fine, we get that. But there's something to be said. Like maybe the guy needs to pleasure anime all the time. But it's an anime I will always talk about. I'll always appreciate. I'll rewatch consistently because it is that good. And it's that like that different than everything else that I've watched. Even until now, I've watched. As much as I'm about to be sad to say, like over 1,000 anime, and that is still very different from anything I've watched. And so, it's great. So
About that time.
that time for some extra time.
You know what it is.
Oh boy, here we go. All right, extra time. So in the past week, we had the men's and women's NCAA tournament. We already talked about how LSU beat Iowa. On Monday, we had UConn Huskies beat the San Diego State Aztecs. I feel bad for my Aztecs. I used to live in San Diego, so I feel for them. But congrats to UConn. It was their 5th national championship for the men. UConn women, they dominated all the time. So congrats to the men. The Mavericks in the NBA, they quit on the season. So they lost again last night to the Chicago Bulls. So they're officially out of the playoffs. Kyrie Irving is officially out of the playoffs. F that guy. So I'm happy to see them fail, to see them flounder. They quit to try and get a better draft pick, so I hope that fails on them too. But we'll see how that goes. But I wanted to talk about this baseball, a boring sport. But my San Diego Padres have a player named Fernando Tatis Jr. And last year he was suspended for using PEDs, and his excuse was it was medicine for ringworms. In the year 2022, he was taking medicine for ringworms, which is the most lame excuse I have ever heard. He was given an 80-game suspension. That's up April 20th. But he signed like a 14-year, $330 million contract back in 2021. But it's ridiculous.
What am I doing?
Bro,
what are your thoughts on like cheaters like in the game? Because everybody now labels him a cheater.
Yeah.
He's got that long contract. He's going to be in San Diego for a while.
Yeah,
He's going to have that stigma to him. Like, you cheated. Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, maybe it was just ringworm. That is.
This man be playing in the sandbox.
Dirty water. I don't know, man.
A professional athlete,
man.
access to greatest food.
I got it. I mean, maybe he ate his dog's food or something. I don't know. Like, let me stop. But I don't know. I think, yeah, it's unlikely. It's very unlikely. But I think it's unfortunate because I think I'll play devil's advocate because I think it's tough because a lot of these players for sports in general, most really good players in sports are one of two things. They're either an athlete's son or child, or they're from a very, very dire circumstance they were desperately basically trying to escape from. You know, the best of the best, typically, are one of those two, typically. And so I think that, I mean, dire is a push sometimes, but I think for a lot of times it probably feels dire. And I think, at times it's like, okay, the risk return is, okay, I don't take this, and then I'm labeled as some sort of mid or expendable player that's into the minor leagues. And I don't know, I don't know a lot about baseball, but what I do know is that the minor leagues, you're not making no bank. I'll tell you that. Not compared to what you're making in the big leagues, which is why dudes are so desperate to make it there one day. Even if it's just one contract. One contract is set for life. Your family is set for life, not just you. And I think that's one thing that's lost. Like, sometimes they're just so desperate to make it and to get that first contract, they just want to do whatever it takes to secure that because, again, especially a lot of people that are outside of America, I think there's more emphasis on family. And when I say family, I mean it's like extended family. They want to take care of everyone, everyone, grandma to aunts to cousins, all that. And so if you're saying, I take this one drug and I can hit the ball farther, run faster, catch more of these like fly balls, and now secure my family's future for the rest of our lives, and maybe another generation or two. I'm probably taking that pill, man. I'll be honest.
No. It's a couple of generations. But, that is crazy. And I don't know. To me, I would like to just kind of like bash cheaters very quickly because I'm just like, especially if something like $300 million contract, it's like this amount of selfishness that like these players show, which I guess they have to, right? I mean, that's their whole kind of persona. I am the greatest at X, right? But still, I think that if all you're doing is trying to like, give me money, then you're going to take these really drastic steps, and it sucks. I mean, there's probably, you probably ask some athletes about how much pressure they have to play. Like, imagine that contract. Is that contract going to say, you said how many years? 14? Mm-hmm. You have 14 years, you just have to play ball? Doubt it, right? Highly doubt that it says you just got to play ball, right? It probably says, like, you have to play well, right? You have to give us something back for this amount of money, right? Maybe it's, maybe it's only publicity, but, like, you have to do something. And I'm like, that's a lot of stress that, he probably has on him too, but still, I'm like, in general, I'm just saying, like, those contracts are weird. And I think that, like, selling you as a person to someone is very weird. And, and also, bro, this is a game that doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying, like, I'm always a sports guy.
What's really mad at you?
I'm sorry. But I'm just saying, it's for me, it's really hard to see like all this value that you're putting into this thing, and then that could also, to some degree, hurt you physically too. I don't know, but maybe it's not like how other steroids and stuff are, right? But you do all this whatever to your body physically. It's also some amount of damage that you're doing to your thing.
I'm sure there's long term and short term risk. I mean, especially depending on how long they do it. I'm sure, but either way, there's no steroid that's supposed to be in your body consistently. There is none. It doesn't exist. So it's like, I think that.
But only sports is calculated risk.
You're calculated risk.
You're going to have people more and more pushing your body to some limit, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh well, this guy did it, and he
He might not have got caught. He might not have got caught either.
Right.
That's the other thing. But,
I'm like, yeah.
If I get caught after the contract, well, I'm still getting paid. I mean, you can kick me if you want to.
Or they find other ways, like other things that they can, like the thing like oxygen.
Right.
Like, oh, I can just work out with pure oxygen and like, get my blood, I'm like, that kind of feels weird. Because I'm like, it can't be good for you, right? We don't breathe your oxygen, bro. Like, we don't, like, I don't know. But, that kind of thing. It's the same with diet and stuff. And you were talking about that the other day about how, like, some of these athletes, like, go days without eating or, like, dehydrate their body and all these things.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to, especially fighters and trying to make weight, wrestlers and stuff like that. Like,
that's super, dangerous.
Yeah,
It's like, part of the deal. Right. Part of the deal is me taking this medicine just to do better.
Yeah.
But similar to what you said, 300 mil.
I'm just saying. I don't need you give me a month of that. I'm good. I'm good. I'll make it work. Stretch it out, please. I'm just I get. Yeah, it probably feels unfair for people that have, let's say, done it just the right way, unquote. That they just straight and narrow, no all natural. Just did it hard work and all this good stuff. But again, there's some people. Yeah, like talk about rock, some people that are just gifted more. Like not everyone. It doesn't matter what steroid I get. I'm not gonna be LeBron James. I can say everyone in history. I'm not gonna be LeBron James. It's some people that are simply more gifted than you are. And again, sometimes you're just taking that calculated risk to try and close that gap and trying to get what you can get out of the sport, while you can. Either way, it's a window. Baseball might have a little bit bigger window, to play a little bit longer than a lot of people, but for the most part, it's always a window that's shorter than most of the careers in sports. So if you don't get in there in that window, you're not going to get it. And you can't sit there the whole time in the minor leagues or some obscure baseball league somewhere else in the world and then just never get it, and then you just, they basically waste your life, and you got to find another career after, It's like, you're 41 with no job experience, that's not a good recipe, for success. So, I
have a question. To that thing, right? Like, let's say you can take a drug right now, and you for sure will not live past, let's say, 60. No, let's say 50. We're for sure will not live past 50. But now, whatever your, the current intelligence is like max, like you're at max. You can take this drug. Like more. And just intelligence. No physical.
Just intelligence?
That's like limitless drug.
Yeah, like limitless drug. But I'm saying, like, on a realistic scale, right? Like whoever's like Stephen Hawking level, whatever. Like, yeah, right.
For me, I wouldn't see any practicality.
Work my desktop, just brain fucking fire. Like, all right.
I don't have the drive to go out and create something. So I'll just be sitting there smart as hell, like, what do I do with all this smartness? And then I'll see all the dumb people around me that's going to create existential dread We're like, my God, why am I so smart?
Yeah,
God.
That's a good point. Existential dread is a good point. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. For me, out of the field I'm in, I mean, that would help a lot. That would help a lot.
Be a really good doctor for 20 more years.
Let's just take it all out. But I mean, like, yeah, like I don't know. I don't know. I think me being a very Rockley-esque philosophy in my life so far, I'm just like, I've got this far. I'm able to just power through. So I'm a low maintenance sort of dude as far as like, like I don't need millions of dollars. Really, I just need like enough to take care of myself, my family. Help people out with family when I need to. I'm good. That's good enough for me. And go out eating once in a while. You know what I'm saying? Eat some good food. Travel a little bit. Go to Japan. Shout out to any Japanese people that want to sponsor anyone in Japan, please. Yeah, I mean, if you put it in front of me, depending on the day,
right.
I mean, it'd be a hard one. It'd be a hard one to say no to, but I think on a good day, I'd be like, I'll be all right. I'm gonna try and live past 50, and I'm gonna try and live I'm working out and stuff. I'm gonna try and be in good shape, so I'm having a comfortable 60, 70 years from my body really be breaking down and stuff. So I'm like, hopefully at least.
Well, I'm the same way. Definitely would probably not take it out. There is a non-0%, which I may think about it, right? Like, imagine if it was just like, okay, not for certain you will die at 50, but like there's a 50-50. There's like a 50-50% that, that you live past 50. Like, maybe. And then, like, the more you get, the more certain I'm like, I think, would you be 33%?
Yeah,
2/3, bro.
Yeah, if it's about a 50 or less, I'll probably take that shot. You want a side hustle real quick? You can make one real quick. You can do your taxes probably done immaculately. You're gonna get such a good return. Your return gonna be excellent, bro. You do other people's taxes on the side.
Big thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, instantly. You probably run it.
I'm gonna make this an intro real quick. Make it cool. 300 mil.
Become rich and famous. Be Bill Clinton on Tuesday.
I have that podcast about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Something.
Meet Bill Clinton on Tuesday and then go to Ireland on Wednesday. But yeah. That's a good one. I like that. But yeah, I think that about closes off here. I think we probably ran over time next time again. We gotta do better, man. Consistently over 5 minutes. But again, we appreciate you guys for listening to us talk on Procrastination Podcast. Thanks for procrastinating with us.